Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me? So today we are going to take up RC tones. I'm just waiting for some response from all of you. So RC tones is a topic that we are going to start with respect to reading comprehension and questions based on RC in the class and the mocks. Now, these RC questions ask you direct tone questions, or they ask you tones through a central theme question. So, what is the difference? A direct tone question gives you words like analytical, or gives you words like, descriptive, narrative, critical. But a tones question through the a tones question that is asked through central theme is a slightly different, because it will then give you words like, the author is analyzing a key issue, or B, the author is describing. You might have seen these options in your mocks also. A phenomenon. So now that means in the answer, you not only have to use, look at the, the terms like phenomenon, key issue, you also have to focus on the words analyzing, describing. So this is tone plus theme. And together you have to choose the best answer. So tones therefore can be hidden inside a theme question, or tones can be a direct question with direct straight options that you have seen. So let's have a quick brief on what these tones are like. And you can keep making notes. So what is a tone? A tone is basically an attitude which the author takes towards the subject which the author is discussing. This attitude is reflected in the way the author writes. And this writing contains certain keywords which we will learn to recognize, which tell us what the attitude of the author is. The author may be using, showing this attitude towards the content that the author takes up, the issue that the author takes up, and then the author will start describing the issue. And this description has the keywords which help us understand what tone is the author assuming. So this description is what we are going to focus on when we understand the issue with tones. The tone question, this carries options. Usually these are descriptive options, like, critical, optimistic, cynical, sanguine, persuasive, ironic, right? Now, tone, when we watch a film or a movie, it's very easy to identify the tone of the author, of the speaker. So in films or in series, through the facial expression, the tones are visible. So the way the author speaks tells us whether the author is optimistic or outraged or excited. Now, those facial expressions, as you can see in the figure on your screens, those facial expressions are not visible in written language. So we have to make use of our reading skills and understanding of keywords, understanding of the way the sentences are arranged, understanding the way paragraphs begin or end, and identify those tones. So in written language, it is therefore conveyed through words and context. So if you have written this much, I will move to the next thing. So give me a thumbs up in the chat box, which we usually do our traditional practice of using emojis. So as soon as you give me a thumbs up, I'm going to move to the next page. So I've got the first few. Now, the first thing that we do is divide the tone into two parts. First is subjective and the other is objective. Subjective means it has my opinion. It has the writer's likes, dislikes, biases. जो मैं feel कर रही हूँ वो मैं लिखूंगी. But objective means my feeling does not matter. मेरी feeling से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. जो चीज जैसी है मैं वैसी ही बता रही हूँ. So subjective tones therefore are studied as a separate category and objective tones as a separate category. Right? So have you written down subjective and objective, everyone? For this question, give me a nice smiley emoji if you have written down subjective and objective and you've understood it. So that's subjective and objective tones. Now I'm going to describe the next category of tones, which is structure-based tones. So in this structure-based tones, there are certain subjective tones and certain objective tones. Structure-based tones are those that are dependent on the way the passage is structured. Right? For example, an argumentative passage is structured where the author writes, shares an argument of side one and then the argument of side two, or the author uses the opponent's argument and then dismantles it, which means जो भी वाद विवाद हो रहा है, author एक तरफ दूसरे का point of view लिखता है और फिर उसको challenge करके अपना point of view देते हैं. That is argumentative tone. और ऐसा पूरे पैसेज में पैटर्न दिखता है. As opposed to descriptive. In descriptive, जैसा डिस्क्रिप्शन है सिचुएशन का या जैसा डिस्क्रिप्शन है किसी इशू का या किसी पर्सन का, वो डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑथर उसको लिखते हुए आगे बढ़ता है। तो उसमें ऑथर का कोई आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं है, जो चीज जैसी है वैसे ही एक्सप्लेन हो रही है। एनालिटिकल टोन, analytical tone is a description with an analysis of the issue. In the analysis, more than one voice is present. That means the author presents you points of view from around everywhere. Right? Narrative. Narrative is a tone where the author tells you a story which progresses in time. There is movement of time also in this tone. Movement of time means there is a sequence, the way things progress. This happened, then this happened, then this happened. Explanatory is very similar to analytical, except for the fact that the author explains a situation, may not give you others' points of view in it, and just gives reasons to support one conclusion. And discursive is a tone where the author discusses the issue with the readers, writes in such a manner that the author involves you also in it. So write down all these structure-based tones and quickly tell me if there is any tone that you want me to repeat. From these options that you see on the screen, definitely 3 options are going to be in your exams. Maximum passages you get are discursive or analytical or descriptive. And many times narrative also, because you also get literature passages. Description is nothing except जो जैसा है वैसा ही describe किया गया है. Narrative is story. Story which moves in time. Storytelling is a narrative tone. Discursive tone is a discussion that the author has on a subject, and this discussion the author has with the readers. In this, the author explains the entire subject and writes as if to involve the readers also in it. It could be by addressing the readers directly. Analytical is an analysis of an issue or a subject. In this analysis, the author talks about both the good points, bad points, and also gives you different points of view. So these structure-based tones that you see over here, they form 80% of your tone questions. The tone cannot be explained in one sentence. The tone has to be done through passages. So in the example, I cannot give you one sentence. Now, tones you will do through passages. So after structure-based tones, Now we come to content-based tones. In that, subjective tones also. So content-based tones, as the name suggests, here the tone is deciphered or done through the language of the passage. So these are some of the tones which are written in the form of praise or happiness, excitement, or encouragement, or the passages that are funny. So this decision, if you find these words in the option, has to be made by reading the passage well and by looking for keywords that the author has used to decide whether the author is optimistic, is the author planning for the future, hence optimistic, is the author praising someone, is the author paying respects to someone. So if the author is praising someone, then you are likely to choose a tone like 5. The number 5 there, the words for praising are given. Laudatory, appreciating, extolling. Or if the author is paying respects to someone in the passage, then you will choose a tone number 7, reverential, respectful. Or if the author has written a funny passage, then you will choose tone number 3. Encouragement is the tone number 6. If the author has written a passage which is touching, probably highlighting someone's suffering or misery, then the tone is number 4, compassionate, sympathetic. And generally, if the author appears to be in a happy mood, then, and if the passage written gives a happy vibe, then the tone is likely to be amusing, joyful, or jubilant. So do note down the positive tones, everyone, and then give me a go ahead, any emoji of your choice. Yes, I'm waiting for a go ahead, any emoji of your choice, children. Unless there is a question on any tone here. Great. So you have written down all the 7 tones. Then we have negative tones. This is a whole list of tones or keywords that can come in for passages where either the author is very, very pessimistic, which means no matter what, the author doesn't believe that the situation will get solved, or the author shows a sense of hopelessness or doubt. Then you have number 1, right? Or number 2, if the author is threatening or saying that things are going to be horrible in the future, then it will be number 3. Generally, if the author talks about a sad situation, or the author reminisces basically means many times you may have seen passages where the author is just going back, thinking about her life and talking about all the wrong things that happened. Then you will see a tone like number 5. Plaintive, which means sad. Melancholic, which also means sad. So these are keywords for sad. Criticizing someone severely, you will choose tones like number 6. Condescension, belittling, sardonic, or anger. So maybe there is very little difference between criticism and anger. So you're likely to choose something like number 7. When an author is making fun of something or someone, this is making fun. That is lampooning, mocking, deriding. So from the list of negative tones, you are likely to see a lot of questions or a lot of passages. Frequently asked tones are pessimistic or cynical or condescending. Very rarely do you see maybe even angry. That is can be a keyword in the tone. But you have to decide, is the author angry or mocking? Or is the author angry or offering healthy criticism? So if the author is offering healthy criticism, then the tone will not be condescending. The tone will be critical, which means healthy criticism. But if the tone is really mocking, I think this was AIOMC question or a question mock before that, that one of the tones we gave you was scathing. So scathing is a word you can add to number 6. Do you remember this? So healthy criticism, where the author is focusing only on the subject matter, not using very harsh keywords. But if the author is using very harsh keywords, then it is scathing or condescending or belittling. Do you remember seeing the tone scathing in the mock, guys? If you do, say yes. Yes, it was the last mock. Others, do you remember seeing this? All right. So any tones over here from 1 to 9 that you want me to explain? If I can move ahead, then do give me a smiley emoji. Otherwise, if there is any tone that you want me to explain again, please write down the number or the tone. There is a query for number 8. So number 8, the thing is that the tone, dogmatic or patronizing or dominating, usually will not be seen in a whole passage. Within a passage, if someone is giving an order, right? Or in a story, if there is a position that a person is assuming, then you will notice patronizing or authoritative or dogmatic tone. So it will not be a tone in the whole passage. It is a tone you are likely to find in one dialogue or one sentence where the person in authority is either giving an order or saying something to, to make the other person sound small. So it's, I think, a single statement tone or a single dialogue tone rather than a whole passage tone. Whole passage tone question will be either number 1 or number 6, as I've already shared with you. Or number 2, where critical would be healthy criticism. However, disapproving would be that the author states what is wrong and gives reasons for it. Condescending, scathing, and belittling would be where the author is not just stating what is wrong and giving you reasons for it, but also making harsh comments. If this is clear, give me a thumbs up, everyone. Yes. Next, we come to neutral tones. Now, neutral tones are tones that are basically, where the passage is fact-based, straightforward. So these are just the words for the same thing. A formal report, an interview or a conversation where the author is only asking the questions and not making or giving any answers. So formal, factual, matter of fact, straightforward, all these suggest that the author has not given any opinion, just written as is. जो जैसा है वैसा लिख दिया गया. A detached or an indifferent tone, however, is not a straightforward or factual tone. A detached or indifferent tone is a tone where the author describes a situation which is painful or heart-wrenching. It could be the recent floods that we are seeing in our neighboring country, Pakistan. But the author just describes the floods from a very detached point, does not write anything to suggest that the author is feeling bad about it or feeling anything about it. So a detached tone is a straightforward or a matter of fact tone in a situation where it is expected that the author writes a few soft words or something to share that the author is also feeling bad. So if you've got all the neutral tones, give me a go ahead. So any problem in this list of tones? Great. Thank you, guys. Then we come to a very interesting list of tones. This list suggests that the tone or the structure of the passage is such where the author is talking about two opposite things. So note down this list. In this, the first one is sarcastic. Sarcastic is a tone in one dialogue or one line where the author who says the dialogue does not mean it. I hope you understand that. So if you say that, oh God, you're very bright, sarcastically, that means the person you are calling bright is bright or not bright. Yes. So is the person bright or not bright? There is some lag in the YouTube, so sometimes, the wait is longer. Great. So I've got some answers here from Sindhuja and Anushri. That means the person is not bright. So this tone is present in one sentence or one dialogue. Satire, on the other hand, is a method of criticizing by not criticizing. So if you do not like something around you and you make a satire on it, it is also known as vyang. So if you write a satirical story or if you write a satirical article, you are not directly criticizing anything that you do not like or you do not approve of. You describe it in a manner that people who read it or see it automatically understand that, yes, there is something wrong. How do you make the people see it? By exaggerating all the details. So if you read any stories of Premchand, they are satires on society and behavior of people. Or some movies that have been made like Newton or Peoply Live. I do not know if you have seen those movies, but you must. So they are not directly criticizing. They just exaggerate the situation and show it to you. Like in Peoply Live, they exaggerated this whole concept of, the farmer who said, I'm going to commit suicide. So satire can be recognized when you read the situation that the author is describing, and the author describes everything to you in very, very exaggerated details, so much so that the author also makes you laugh. Because of the exaggeration, you laugh, because जो चीज़ है उसको बढ़ा के बताया जाता है. But you also understand that, yes, the author is sharing with me a problem. So, as I said, any stories on Premchand, where the satire had some tragic ending, or I can remember one story, I don't know the author. It was a short story, very hilarious, Cycle Ki Savari. Or a play. I read this play which was hilarious, Ande Ke Chilke. It was an ekanki. Ekanki is, one act play. So a lot of good satire has been written in India. So see, these are some of the things you can read. You can read Ande Ke Chilke, or you can read the short story Cycle Ki Savari. All these are satires. or you can search satires online and read whatever is available and you will understand. Then we come to irony. Irony basically is situational. Irony we will also study as a figure of speech. A situational irony means that something where the opposite of that thing happens when you are not expecting it. Right? However, irony in figure of speech, I will be teaching you in the session on figures of speech. Right? So irony is, if I can give you a one-line example, someone asked me. So irony can be, that because of the rains, you could not reach your own birthday party. So do you see the irony here? It was your party, your birthday, but due to the rains, you could not reach there. Paradox means a situation where the opposite of the expected outcome happens. So the expected outcome based on economic calculations is that, after COVID, people would not have money to travel. But the paradox is that India is traveling like never before. So what happened? Did the people become rich in COVID? No. What happened was that their priorities changed. So it was a paradox. Economic calculation stated that they wouldn't have enough money to travel. They would probably be saving more. But the paradox was that they started traveling more. So ironies are created out of situations where you have no control. Paradoxes are situations where the opposite of the calculated result happens. It could be because the subjects of the calculation, they themselves change the result. So have you understood irony and paradox? Sarcasm plus dislike is sarcastic, not ironical. The other irony we are going to see in figures of speech, that will be the next class. So have you understood the contrary tones? Sarcasm, which is based on dialogue and line. Satire, which is based on vyang or, a writing pattern where you want to criticize, but you don't criticize, you just show the wrong happening. Irony and paradox. All right, so if you've understood this, then do give me a flower emoji. Let's have flowers now. Thank you, Sindhuja. I got the first flowers from you. I'm sure others are looking for flowers. Avichal, thank you. And finally, we come to compound tones. Sometimes tones can be given as double words rather than one word. I feel that's even better method of giving the options for tones, because it gives you a better understanding of what is happening in the passage. Most of the times, the other word is unnecessary, like positive appreciation, informed concern. However, sometimes the other word actually describes it better. like cautious optimism in number 5. Cautious optimism, which is given in number 5. That means the author is not completely optimistic, also stating certain things that could go wrong. Then you think, should I mark optimistic or should I mark cautious? But if you get both cautious and optimism as one option, now you're happy, because there were certain places that the author was cautious and there were other places where the author was optimistic. Similarly, mild endorsement. Endorsement, you're not very happy about it because the whole passage the author did not endorse it. So mild endorsement answers perfectly what you want to say. Qualified appreciation. Qualified appreciation means that you are giving exact things for which you are appreciating the person. But in some cases, like overweening pride or positive appreciation or destructive criticism in number 8, the other word is only just adding a degree. It's not adding a proper new thing. It's just adding a bigger degree. But as I said, number 5, number 6, or number 3, these are giving you an exact description. You don't completely want to say endorsement, but yes, mild endorsement fits better. So the second word gives you more, more features, and hence allows you to look for a better answer. So these compound tones were traditionally asked in AILET, just like tones and figures of speech are traditionally AILET questions. But last year, AILET did not ask you any tones, any figures of speech. However, Clat gave you tone question in almost every passage. So when you get a double worded description of a tone, feel happy, because your answer will get so much better, because sometimes one word is not enough to explain. So then pay attention to both the words and look for reasons to mark it. As I said, in some cases, the word will only add more to the degree of the first word. But in other cases, the second word will give you a better description, a better fit for your answer. Guys, have you understood compound tones? Give me a go ahead if you have. Now what we are really going to do is, we are going to, in the next session, read some passages and discuss the tones. So whatever tones we have done here, I will show you those tones through passages. But that will be a Zoom session and not a YouTube session. So in the Zoom session, we are going to read the passages together, and I'm going to show you features in the passage that help us reach that tone. And we will then go back to this theory. So before the next session, which will be announced next week, you can, and it will be only for CP students, you can revise this session so that you get a theoretical understanding of the tone. And then when I show it to you in the passage, you can identify the markers, the keywords, or the structure that I want to show you before you mark that tone. Right, everyone? That's great. So let's, and then you will also do a class sheet on tones in your classes. That is also on the radar. Great. So please go over the tones, compound tones, the tones for the opposites, contraries, neutral tones, negative, positive, and structure-based tones. All these are complete tones. Now, the only thing that will happen is some of these words, you will probably get new words like you got scathing for condescending. So just a few added words to describe the same thing. Right? Euphemism is not a tone, Chaitanya, it's a figure of speech. Euphemism and irony as a figure of speech we are going to do in figures of speeches. I hope that answers your question. All right. So that'll be it for today, guys. You have a very good legal session coming up in the next 45 minutes. So you can take a break and go for your legal session today. And just before I leave, I want to also talk to you about the recent AILET notification. So do not worry. Most of your fundamental classes are going on, which are relevant for CLAT and AILET both. Now we will be adding AILET mocks and AILET mock analysis to your schedule. So we all have to double up. You have to double up your preparation. We have to double up our offerings. So make sure that you attempt the AILET mocks. You will get your updated mock calendar by tomorrow. AILET mocks will be added. CLAT mocks will not be reduced. We will add mocks to the day, to the week. So those mocks will be added and we are going to double up on that thing. So now you'll be taking 2 proctored mocks a week, one for AILET, one for CLAT. Practice mocks are going to get uploaded on your LMS or MyZone every week. So make sure that you also see that. Right? So just double up now, guys. Finish your fundamentals, finish your practice books, and start working on the mocks. All the best to you. Thank you so much.